All right, check, check. Testing sound. All right, check, check. All right, we seem to be good. All right, let's get into things. First off, this song is called The Beginning. It's by Aluna. Special thanks to F4A Radio for the use of that song. You can hear it in its entirety on the F4A Radio YouTube channel. And you can check out their website, which is right there, f4aradio.com. Let's get into what you guys came here for. If I get the song to stop. There we go. Alright, there's a lot to cover. Turn down that mic a little bit. Seems a little loud. Alright, we're good. So anyway, we have a good bit to cover. We wanted to cover this first topic in the... Mic's still a little loud. In the planned San Diego Crusaders game day show, which we weren't able to do this past Monday. But we plan to, once the regular season starts, every game day, if it's a primetime game, 5:30 to 6, whether we play at 6 or 8, we do a half-hour show talking about the upcoming game, probably talk about the other game, and just other things going on. And on Premiere, if we have Premiere games, we will go on a half hour and for a half hour before the first Premiere game, whether that's ours or whoever's, and we'll talk about, again, our game, maybe the other games if we have time, and whatever else comes up. But let's get into things. First thing, Christmas Day. Let's rewind. At the beginning of training camp, this is what we had. We had Boggle with number 35. Number 1 draft pick A.J. Bowen with number 25. A.J. Bowen won in number 35 into training camp. I believe these guys were negotiating on how A.J. Bowen could get that number. And then, come Christmas, Boggle just gave him the number. We're not sure if A.J. Bowen will still compensate him somehow, maybe gift him for the use of the number. but Boggle made that holiday festivus, no, not festivus, festive move and gave AJ Bowen the number he asked for. Boggle would have liked to get his hands on number 44, so we hear, but that number's taken. So anyway, with that covered, let's get into post-draft off-season moves. The first thing we did was we made bids on 8 different players. Let's go over them all. First one, Bo Steele. We got him. He will be most likely the second string running back, and be used in power situations. Not much chance he overtakes Vondre Bryson for the starting role. All right, moving on. We have Darren Jackson, as well as Craig Aiken. Made a bid on both those guys. Got both those guys. These two guys will be battling. Other than the first 2 receiver spots, from 3 to 6, those are wide open. These guys will be battling to get the best spot possible. And we will be probably running a lot of 3 receiver and 4 receiver sets, maybe even 5. So, the higher you up, the more reps you're going to get. And then moving on to the 4th man we went for. Actually, yeah, sorry. Next man was Cameron Walker. We picked him up. Most likely he'll be the number 2, maybe number 3 defensive tackle. Depends what happens. But we were able to get him. The next man we went for was Marshall Way. As you see, we got him too. As soon as we got him, we had him starting at left outside linebacker. But unfortunately for him, we also picked up Ladarius Jackson, who's playing outside, and literally right before, probably the day before the preseason game on, shout out to Mitch Boy and Roland for joining us. Pretty much the day before our preseason game, we put Ladarius at the left outside linebacker, and Way became the backup. These two will be battling for that left outside linebacker position, most likely. We will see how that goes. And probably the loser will be the backup for both right and left outside linebacker. But we're still pretty early in preseason. We literally have 5 weeks before our first game, so a lot of time to get a lot of work done, and we need a lot of work after that preseason game. And then moving on to the last 2 guys we went for in the first wave of free agency, which led to a bid war. First guy we went for was Ty Logan. We were fortunate enough not to have to bid too much. We pretty much only encountered 1 bid, and the Lancers gave up on him. He will most likely be the starting defensive tackle. In certain situations, he'll be the second defensive tackle, depending on the formation and how we move things around. The second man we had to do a bid for is BOUYE. BOUYE is most likely, well, not most likely, he is battling for the second string quarterback position. We tried to get him in. If you saw the game, we tried to get him in the 3rd quarter to play the rest of the 3rd quarter in the 4th, but there were some technical issues with that. No fault but Madden's. So no one's going to really get a chance to see what he can do other than the staff, as we pretty much just inter-squad scrimmages and scrimmages with teams from the Shadow Realm, so to speak. But I think a lot of people, based off of what Sears did last year at the end of the season against the Explorers, when we played pretty much all but a couple of backups And then the preseason game where Sears threw 2 picks. A lot of people will probably think BOUYE might pass him for that second string spot, but we'll see. And you got to remember, and I'll cover this later, in the Explorers end of season game where we sat everybody, and they did too, and as well as this preseason game, Sears was playing with the backups, and that probably affected him some. But we'll see what BOUYE does when he gets a chance to get the ball, and what Sears does for the rest of this preseason. Our next move was a trade with the Lancers. As you see here, we have offensive lineman Huron and tight end Wisney. It's Wisne. Should have had the names on this graphic. Both men upper 70s, as well as we got their the Lancers 6th-round pick, and we gave up a 3rd-round pick for that. A little higher, gave up a little more than we wanted, but we really wanted Huron to secure up that offensive line. Though I'll cover this too. The offensive line didn't look great in that preseason game, but technically, offensive lineman wise, we only gave up 1 sack. It was a lot of well done blitzes on the Snowhawks part that got the pressure and the sacks on us, so we'll have to work on schemes for that. But the 1 sack given up was by Huron, who we just picked up to secure the line. But even still, you give up 1 sack. It's not too bad, but again, it was only 1/4 for the starters. All right, so after that trade, we did nothing in the second wave of free agency, but in the third wave of free agency, we picked up who will probably be the 3rd string or the number 3 cornerback in Sergio Matthews. We picked him up less than a week before the preseason game, so the jury's still out on him. Just because we picked him up to be the 3rd cornerback doesn't mean he'll have that. We have some free safeties. We have 4 free safeties who will have very limited time at free safety, who will look to get a little extra time at cornerback like they did last year, especially someone like Malbeck and Cumberland, who did a very good job at cornerback in the 3 and 4 spot. Now let's cover that Snowhawks game. There it is. We'll go to that. All right, so we lost that game 51-21. The final score I'm not huge on. What I was most concerned with was the first quarter. The rest of the game, 3/4 of what I made sure, or at least I did my best, to make sure no starters played past the first quarter. So the team you saw for the last 3 quarters were nothing but backups. And not only that, because of our depth, we had a few guys not playing their national position. We had defensive end Garrett playing outside linebacker. We had defensive tackle Woodson playing an end position. So it really wasn't the best foot forward with the second team. It's just a chance for those guys to show what they can do. In case of a few guys, what they can do in other positions. And I gotta say, you put that against a running back that should be the number 1 back. Jacob McDonald should be a number 1 back somewhere. It's crazy that he's a backup. For multiple reasons, I'd like to see him go somewhere else where he can start. For starters, it would be nice that he's not in my division unless he's on my team. But I would like I'm a fan of his, and I'd like to see him where I can root for him and see him get a lot of carries. But in my division, I can't really root for him unless he's playing like the Condors or the Elks. But considering they're probably out of those 3 teams, Snowhawks are probably the best see more reason not to root for them. Mike looks like it's a little loud. So anyway, let's cover what I was most concerned about was the first quarter. And with that said, let me cover what Mitch revealed during the game that I did message him. He mentioned that I wanted the end of the first quarter to be 21-0. I'll clarify that. The goal was 21-0. It wasn't a prediction. We wanted to come out strong. We wanted to hit them in the mouth, score quick, maybe get a pick six. Um, Unfortunately, that didn't happen. They started with the ball, moved down the field, got a field goal. That was fine. But then Wakefield, I wanted him to come out strong, and he came out a little shaky through that first pick, gave them the ball in our own territory, and they marched down, got a touchdown. Then we marched down, got a touchdown. And then they had the ball, and they marched down. That drive is the one I'm most concerned about. They didn't score before the end of the quarter, but they pretty much had it on the 3-yard line. So I'm really counting that as the end of the quarter. Not at the end of the quarter, it was 10-7, but with where they were, I'm scoring that 17-7. But in addition to that, they had one extra drive. So if you average out our 2 possessions, you could give us 3 and say it's 17-10 on like if we're giving them 7, give us 3. At least I'll give credit to our starters that that's score. So not the way we wanted to be. And also another thing I told Mix is we would have been happy if it was 14-7 and we were driving us up. Unfortunately, it was more like the other way around. But again, we had one less carry. But that pick that really destroyed any momentum we had to get to the goal I had for the team. Some issues I saw offensively. Our big issue was we weren't picking up blitzes. We'll have to work on that. I got to go back to screen or go back to watch video, see how much of that problem was maybe fullbacks and running backs not picking up the blitz. How many of those successful blitzes were on, no backfield with the quarterback to pick up blitzes. Just got to see what went wrong there. But again, it's our first game. We're still figuring out offensive and defensive playbook schemes. Unfortunately, the offensive playbook and defensive playbook we rolled with last year, which is the New England Patriots, which was our main playbook last year, and the new I want to call them New Jersey, the New York Jets. Those playbooks are not the same as they were last year. Excuse me, I need to take a drink here. So we're still looking for that playbook we want. And we probably need to mess with scheme some as well. But like I said, we have 5 weeks till our first game. So we'll have plenty of time to work on that. So the team you saw Monday will hopefully not be as good as the team you see week 2 against the Elks. So moving on to the defense, with that we came into the game. I had fears that the holes I saw in practice, whether that would show up in the game, and it did. They kept hitting short over the middle, short mid range, which happened in practice. So I wasn't sure if it was our scheme, our playbook opening that up, or that's just an issue with what we've been running in general. Apparently it's what we've been running in general. So we're going to look to fix that, work on, give a little extra work on covering the middle, the short game. Hopefully we'll clean that up. Again, like like with the offense, the Jets' defensive playbook, which we ran with mostly last year, is not the same. And we'll have to figure out schemes too, because a lot of new players. The linebacking core, half of that's new. Um, New free safety, so new starting cornerback. So a lot to work on, but we got a lot of time to work on it, which is good. And we'll see how that goes. If you have any questions, I'll take them. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on that game. I know I had some questions lined up. If there's no one in the chat with questions, let me go look at them. To be fair, I think I stole some that went towards Mitchie. If no one has any in the chat, and we're going to go for another 10 minutes here. I just had the questions lined up. Where are they? How do I feel about giving up 50? Like I said, most of that was with the backups. I'm not really thrilled with giving up 10 in the first quarter, which really, like I said, we're counting it as 17 because they were pretty much, it was like first down on the 3 when the quarter ended. So we're counting that as 17, which is more than we wanted, but you also got to kind of look at the offense a little bit for blame there since that pick happened and it gave them the ball in their own territory. Defensive could have done a little better with not bending or not breaking, giving up the touchdown, but they did, so not happy with that. What are some goals you have for your team this season? Well, seeing how we got to the playoffs last year, we want to get to playoffs again. We want to win the division again. We definitely don't want to have the thing where we have to rely on the wild card, but it is nice to know that you have that extra spot with 3 wild cards now instead of just 2. But the better you do, home field advantage, yada yada. Um, I don't have any player goals. Like as long as we win, it doesn't matter who gets the job done. But of course, I do want to improve players, especially the ones who are signed to multiple years, as opposed to guys who only have 1 year left on their contract. Um, but yeah, pretty much this is win the division, get in the playoffs, and then as you see in the playoffs, RFL or any league, you just let the chips fall where they may. I mean, obviously, the ultimate goal is Relo Bowl championship. I know people will scoff at that, but then we were predicted to finish last year in our division. Um, if you go back, which I've done a bunch of times, go back and watch the podcast where they make predictions, which I believe they did after preseason last year. This year they did it before preseason. So last year, I was predicted to finish last, or the Crusaders were predicted to finish last in the NRC West by both Smitty and Bill, and then we ended up winning the division. Um, this year we're between Smitty, Bill, and Mix. I think they were unanimously predicting Crusaders to finish third. So we look to do what we did last year and finish higher than expected, shock some people, and actually win some games in the pro season, and of course win the championship. We'll see how that works out. Let me look at more questions. Someone made a comment about that there was a play in the game where I'm forgetting how to say it, Karis Curry put a move on AJ Bowen, our first round draft pick. Really seems like someone's kind of hating, just like trying to throw shade on a high-profile player like A.J. Bowen. But if you watch that play, I should have time-stamped it so I could, because I knew I was going to talk about this. You watch that play. Bowen came from a far way out, came in and contained Curry towards towards other tacklers. That there's a big difference between that and there's two other plays in the game where other players on the Crusaders got literally faked out. Um, I believe that question or the person who brought that up said Bowen's literally got his ankles broke. No. Last time I checked, he was healthy, so he literally did not get his ankles broke. Came in, cut off an open lane, couldn't make the tackle, and prevented Curry from getting a lot more yardage. So I think when some people see a play like that, they think, "Oh, he got faked out." It's like sometimes you got to put yourself out there to just excuse, excuse me, cut off a lane and not get the tackle. But I could show you two other plays in the game where a guy literally gets faked out on our team, and we're trying to correct that mistake from those players. Next question. Next question. If anyone in the chat has a question, cool. Oh, was that the last question we had? All right. Any questions from the chat other than what we have? We have 5 more minutes left in the show. If anyone has any questions, but touch on free agency after I take another drink. We are looking to pick up one more player, but we are kind of torn at what position. Uh, it's an odd thing because we don't think anyone's like gunning for either of those players, so I'm not going to mention them. But we still got to hurry and make a choice if we're going to pick either of those guys up at all, because you never know. We're like, all right, we're going to pull the trigger on this guy, go in and see that he's just picked up. Very interesting part of preseason there. The whole making decisions, but you got to make decisions quick before things happen. It's kind of like the way we were trying to clear cap space before the draft. Like we were willing to give up more than we wanted so we could clear cap space. What's your opinion on the players you drafted in the offseason? Let me grab my list of. Oh, shoot, I had my other phone had a list of my off-season pickups. I mean, drafted players. AJ Bowen, he was the main thing in free agency. That's who we wanted, considering where we were in the draft. Um, free safety wise, the big three were Chappelle, Franklin, and Bowen. We knew we wouldn't get Franklin. And between Chappelle and Bowen, I wanted Bowen, to be honest. Fortunately, I think the consensus was Chappelle was a better player, but we wanted Bowen. I thought he seemed to be the more aware player. When I watched him in games, he seemed to be in the right spot a lot of the times. I mean, he the game that sticks out to me in his college career was against Notre Dame, where I think he had multiple fumble recoveries because he was in the right place, and then he made a bunch of plays because he was in the right place. He didn't out. It wasn't out. He wouldn't use athleticism to outplay people. He was using his. It seemed to be more he was using his smarts and his intelligence of the game. So fortunately, we got him. We were sweating so bad, like the closer we got, because there was we saw a few mock drafts, and then before that had us getting Bowen, But then there was like a trade, only a couple that affected the pick couple in front of us, which kind of blew everything out of the water because we weren't sure what that team and the new team in that pick in front of us needed. And I even consulted other people, like, what do you think you're gonna get? They're like, I don't know. They could use a lot of things, but they don't need a lot of things. But yeah, that draft was all about Bowen. We got some other guys who have potential. We're hoping a couple of them are able to contribute, but we'll see what happens. Am I going 4-3? Not likely. I'm a big 3-4 guy. Um, we ran 3-4, I think, all but one game last year, and that one game we didn't was like a 46. Yeah, so most likely 3-4 all season. Not impossible that we run a 4-3 once in a while. Part of it depend on the playbook we have, because I'm looking more at 3-4 playbooks that might not even have a 4-3, but there are 3-4 formations that look like a 4-3 that you're bringing the linebacker up, lining up on the line. But no, I'm definitely a 3-4 kind of guy. Any more questions? Turn that song we had on again. I'll wait for questions. Again, that song's by Alana. You know it's spelled Alana. It's called Beginning, and you can find it at f4aradio.com. And I'll answer any more questions that we have. I feel like we had another question here, but I forgot the device. It had all that extra stuff I needed. What are your thoughts on the other teams in your division? That's a good question. We'll start from the bottom to the top. In regards to how they finished last year, so the Condors, historically they've had a bad defense. Smitty still thinks they have a bad defense. It'll be interesting to see with the offseason moves, like getting Ray Franklin, how much they improve. They have a good offense. If they get their defense rolling, they'll be very dangerous, I think. Last year, their defense played out of their mind against us. The second time we played, Wakefield had a terrible game. So that worries me with them. They're the only team we didn't sweep last year. So, they worry me. They worry me a bit. We'll see how that defense works out. I'm curious to see their first preseason game. Then you have the Elks. What I thought they should have done last year was roll with their non-scrambling quarterback, who was like a 90 overall. They stuck with Bain. Bain has turnover issues, which helped us out, especially in the first game, because he was moving the ball, and then we give him a good hit. He fumbled. We stopped their drive. We get the momentum back. There were some key plays in both.
Welcome to Crossroads.
What the heck? Sorry. Both games we played them, we had some key plays that help us win the game. So we're not like comfortable against them. We're confident, but then you have a brand new coach for them, so we're not sure what he's going to bring to the table. He could improve the team. He could, at least against us, I don't want to say make the team worse, but we'll see how he. What I need to do is look back when he coached the Pioneers, see what he did with them. So that's another thing I need to do over the next 5 weeks, as they are our first game of the season in week 2. And then the Snowhawks, they're a really good team. They came out and punched us in the mouth, really. Uh, Kind of the opposite of what I hoped. But I know we can beat them. We blew their doors off at the end of the season last year when they had their full squad. No one thought we could beat them, and we scored like 30 some, and in garbage time they made it somewhat respectable. And then the other game was they were still on suspension, so it's hard. I can't really count that as what we would, I can't gauge anything off of that. So I'm hoping this is going to be a 2-team battle between us and the Snowhawks. It'd be nice if the Snowhawks just can't get it together, but uh, division wise, um, I'm hoping we can handle the Elks and Condors. Um, and if we have to split with anyone, um, it's it's the Snowhawks, I would predict. Um, and obviously, in your division, you want to sweep everybody, so you don't have to come down to other tiebreakers if you tie at the end of the season, which made the fact that we swept the Elks and the Snowhawks last year gave us a little breathing room as we went down that stretch, and they were right on our tails. But you also got to remember, Snowhawks didn't have their full roster all last year, so what would their record been if they did? Um, what I find interesting, though, the Condors played the Snowhawks twice after the suspension. The Elks played the Snowhawks twice before the suspension ended. So the Elks ended up sweeping the Snowhawks, and the Condors ended up getting swept by the Snowhawks. If that was switched, would the Condors been able to sweep the Snowhawks? And sorry, would the Condors would have been able to sweep a a team, the Snowhawks under suspension, and would the Snowhawks post suspension been able to sweep the Elks? And if that's the case, their records would have been almost flipped around, and Condors would have been contending for that division title, and Elks would have been that fourth team. But who knows? Condors may still lose to the Snowhawks under suspension, and the Elks may have still swept the Snowhawks post suspension. Not sure. Any more questions? I'll take them. Got to end soon. You got 2 minutes. If there's any more questions? But unbiasedly, I wouldn't put it past any team in this division to be able to win the division. Um, Obviously, everything kind of goes through the Snowhawks and us, I would say, because of the uncertainty with. Oh, no problem. Awesome Crocodile Productions. Um, Lost my train of thought. But yeah. I think everything goes through us, the Crusaders, and the Snowhawks. I think we're the two top teams. But that's why we play the games. The new coach for the Elks might be the missing piece they need. They might be a lot better with a new coach. I don't know. Like I said, I got to go research what that coach did with the Pioneers back in the day. And the Condors with an improved defense, they might be world beaters because that offense is good. It just might need to get on the field more to really get to people. I think what we need to do is it's kind of weird. I don't. We got to score less quickly. I kind of found that last year we usually lost time possession, whether we won or lost, because we'd either score quick or we'd be 3 and out. It wasn't a lot of slow drives, and there wasn't a lot of first down, unsuccessful drive. So the defense is out there a lot, working a lot. I wish there was a stat in Madden. There was something like a per play average. Yeah, see how our guys would score in those categories, like how many yards per play, kind of thing. But I mean, I could do the math on that, but comparing it to every other team, I have to do the math 32 times, and then for every other or for every statistic I need to look at. But I just need to concern with us, make the defense as good as possible, make the offense as good as possible. Let the chips fall where they may. I can only do so much, and it's funny. When I first started, I was like, okay, I can do all this to make my team better. As season goes on, it's like, oh, I could do this too. Oh, I could do this too. What if I did this? I think people who aren't coaches or on the outside looking in probably don't realize. I know they don't realize how much different things you can do to prepare your team for a game. But with that said, I need to prepare the Epiphany feast for my family tonight. I can hit the store, and then later tonight I will start researching the Pioneers or the Elks' new coach. Try to find some old Pioneer games when he was coaching them. Thank you for joining us. Join us next week, next Tuesday. We'll do another show. Hopefully, we're trying to do these live every Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, because that's the time we was voted on last year. Though it's not going to be super a lot to talk about for us wise. Maybe if we add some stuff, and then come our first regular season game in week 2, we'll have the San Diego Crusaders game day show. But until then, thank you for joining us. Happy Epiphany, which is today. And